Sacramento Environmental Commission will begin. Call the meeting to order. At this time, we'd also like to take roll call. If you will call the roll. Jill?
Laura Nickerson.
Here.
Stephanie Holstage. Christine Casey.
Here.
Dr. Anthony DeRigi.
Here.
Richard Hunn.
Here.
Eugene Lee.
Here.
Tom Mulson.
Here.
Gage Marchini.
Here.
Jacqueline Todak. I know she's in the building. She'll be here in a minute. Mark White.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I would like the commissioners to introduce themselves briefly, where you were, who you were appointed, what board appointed you, and your career background. We'll go ahead and start on the end there with Mr. Eugene Lee.
Hello, my name is Eugene Lee, appointed by the city of Elk Grove. This is my second meeting. I am retired from the California Energy Commission.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gage Marchini. I'm a county appointee and I am an environmental and land use attorney.
Jacqueline Todak, appointed by the city of Sacramento, and I'm an environmental planner and project manager in the private sector.
Thank you.
Tom Molson, I represent the cities of Folsom, Isleton, and Galt, and I'm a retired Aerojet engineer.
Thank you. My name is Laura Nickerson. I represent the Sacramento County, and I'm a retired registered nurse, and I also do wildlife, animal, and bird rescue and rehab.
Hi, I'm Richard Hunn. I was appointed by Sacramento County and I'm a retired environmental planner.
Good evening, I'm Christine Casey and I'm silencing my phone. I was appointed by the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors and I work with the California State Transportation Agency.
Thank you.
I'm Tony DeRigi. I was appointed to the city and I'm a retired physician.
Mark White, appointed by the county, and we work for garbage companies. They pay very well.
Go ahead, Janae. Introduce yourself.
My name is Jania Monasterio and I am the director for the Environmental Management Department for Sacramento County.
Thank you. At this time, as the chair of the Sacramento Environmental Commission, since I missed last month's meeting, I would like to formally and officially welcome our two new commissioners, Mr. Eugene Lee and Mr. Gage Marchini. Welcome. It's good to have you guys. We have a full commission now, which is really nice. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
At this time, we have opportunity for public comment. You have 3 minutes to comment on each separate item. Is there any public that would like to comment? No public? All right. Agenda number 5. Where's our speaker?
Gary.
Oh,
Right
very
there.
good. I'm looking around. It's our speaker from the Sacramento and Yolo Mosquito and Vector Control. And this is Gary Goodwin, the manager. Thank you and welcome, Gary, virtually also.
Yeah, thank you again for the invitation. I'm not sure why you even ask me every year, but I'm always honored to come in and talk a little bit about what we do from a mosquito standpoint. So I'm hoping my screen share will work here. And let's see, can you see that?
Yes.
Perfect. So again, thank you again for the invitation. My name's Gary Goodman. I'm the district manager for the Sacramento Yolo Mosquito Vector Control District. And I'll talk a little bit about what it is that we do, what we're kind of anticipating for this upcoming season, and hopefully a couple other little things. I tried to add something new into this year's presentation. So in general, mosquito control in California was started in 1915. So over 100 years now, coming up on 109 years with the adoption of the Mosquito Abatement Act, which is now incorporated into the California Health and Safety Code. And the first districts were in and around the salt marshes of San Francisco Bay. And for the most part, mosquito control across the country was really established to be able to try to rid the area of malaria, which was still prevalent at that time in the early 1900s. And then the other aspect of it was economic development. Nobody wanted to move to the Bay Area or anywhere if you were just going to be constantly eaten away by mosquitoes and, of course, disease. And so there were efforts across the country to establish mosquito control districts throughout and be able to try to work to essentially remove standing water where mosquitoes breed, and so that they could start to develop various areas. And so, it's always fascinating. I know, especially down in the outside the Bay Area, looking at trying to work on bringing some of those wetlands back and bringing some back of what we've had 100 years ago. One of the challenges that's going to be associated with that is the production of mosquitoes if we bring some of those things back. So it's trying to find the balance associated with that. Our particular district, we cover all of Sacramento and Yolo County. So our main office is in Elk Grove, and then we also have a satellite office in Woodland. Our district was established in 1946, and we are funded by property taxes. So we're a special district similar to a park district or fire district, cemetery district, your local tax dollars that you spend within your jurisdiction, within your county. Some of those monies come to us. We have a board of trustees. We have 13 trustees, each appointed by the incorporated city within Sacramento or Yolo County, and then one county at-large representative. And our folks, we have 70, we actually have 75 now full-time employees. And then we hire about 20 or so seasonal employees that help us during the peak season of April to October. So when the weather starts to warm up, that's when mosquitoes become more active, and that's when our activities start to really perk up. So our mission is to protect public health, to provide economic, effective vector control, to be able to suppress both the population of mosquitoes in our particular area, and then, of course, more recently in the last 20 or so years, the prevalence of specific diseases. And the one that is most prevalent in our area is West Nile virus. Again, our district operates under the California Health and Safety Code, which gives us the authority to go onto private property and to essentially do the activities that we're designed to do to be able to try to protect public health. We also work very closely with the California Department of Public Health. We have an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with CDPH, and they are a statewide branch of state government that helps provide support and research and guidance to mosquito control districts throughout the state. And so, for the most part, in California, if you live in a populated center, you have a mosquito control district that is responsible for your area. There are over 60 districts within California. For the most part, all of them, where people live. So if you're looking up in the high Sierras, there on the Nevada border, there's not a lot of people living out there, so there's not a lot of mosquito districts. But wherever you do have population, there is a mosquito district that's designed to be able to try to help protect public health. So our district here, we cover about 2,000 square miles. All of Sacramento and Yolo County are one of the largest districts in the state because we are a bi-county agency. And we reach out to cover almost 2 million residents, most of them obviously in Sacramento County, separated just by the river. But we also have a lot of mosquitoes that breed in those agricultural areas in Yolo County and Natomas, the Wilton area, that easily can fly into and have an impact on the residents that live in those various areas. We break up our district into what we call zones. So there we have 27 zones. And each one of these zones has a technician assigned to that, and their job on a daily basis is to drive around, go around their zone, look for and treat breeding sources of mosquitoes. So they are looking for standing water. And if you look out in, say, Natomas, right, in the El Verde area, there's some very easy things for them to spot. Rice fields, wetlands, those types of things, very open. The more difficult things for us to find are what are in people's backyards, because those things can also fill up with water, or a backyard swimming pool can have and produce thousands and thousands of mosquitoes. And so we have technicians that work every day. They understand, they know this area like the back of their hand. They should be able to get around. They know what the sources are. Some are sources in the spring, some come more in summer with irrigation from some of the agricultural things. And then some come in the summer from people watering their lawns, and it's running out into the storm drains or filling up their containers that might be in their yards. So, but every day these technicians go out into their zones and look for and treat mosquito breeding sources. In California, there are 53 different species of mosquitoes. not all mosquitoes transmit disease, and some are very specific as to what their breeding patterns are. Some like to breed on birds, some like to feed on cattle, some like to feed on humans. So every mosquito species has kind of a prevalence or a preference in terms of what they would like to feed on. And mosquitoes are looking for a blood meal, and only female mosquitoes bite, but female mosquitoes bite so that they can get the protein from your blood to produce their eggs. And so all female mosquitoes bite, male mosquitoes only feed on nectar and then mate with the females. And within our area, we have 24 different species of mosquitoes that are here. Again, not all transmit disease. And so some are more of a nuisance aspect of making sure that you can enjoy your backyard barbecue or your summer evenings or your baseball games, those types of things. But every mosquito species is a little bit different. For the most part, the activity is about from May through October when the weather starts to warm up. So we're definitely seeing quite a bit of activity moving forward now. We did in February or so, we had that warm stretch of weather, and we had a lot of people that were giving us a call saying that the mosquitoes were really bad, and they were. Those are mosquitoes that tend to overwinter and kind of hunker down, and once the weather starts to get better, then they come out to play, and they're essentially looking for that blood meal. So the mosquito life cycle, mosquitoes need water to breed. They start as those egg rafts in the upper left-hand corner. Those little rafts are about anywhere from 200 to 250 small eggs that they lay in rafts. If you can see that quadrant picture there, you'll see the perfect picture of a raft. Each one of those segments is an individual egg. Then they go through 4 larval stages where they're feeding on the things that are in the water, and they breathe through a siphon tube at the surface. Then they'll go through a pupal stage and then emerge as an adult. And so our goal is to try to get them in their aquatic stage before they emerge as adults, because the challenge is that once an adult mosquito takes a blood meal and then lays 100 or 250 eggs, then those eggs hatch off, and then you've got 250 adult mosquitoes that you have to deal with. Approximately half of those are females. So they're going to want to take a blood meal and then lay another 250 eggs and lay another 250 eggs. So our goal is to try to get them in their aquatic stage, to find those sources of water in and around our area, and then treat them accordingly so that we can reduce the abundance of mosquitoes in our area. Again, they're laid in, here's a great picture of a mosquito laying eggs on the surface of the water. Most of the ones that transmit disease for us, the Culex species that we have, tend to lay them in these kind of rafts, singly at a time, banded together. They're first white when they first get laid, and then they start to darken brown in just a few hours. Very small, only 1 millimeter long. And this is one of the challenges that we have, is being able to try to find these water sources to be able to try to reduce the numbers. How long do mosquitoes last? Well, it depends, again, obviously, on the species. So different species last a little bit longer or take time from egg to adult. For 80 species, which we call floodwater species, so these tend to be more agricultural areas that we have. And so when a farmer starts to put water onto a field, these eggs are laid in the soil. And then water, once it starts to flood, then these mosquitoes will come off, and they are very aggressive, and they come off in about 3 to 5 days. And so these floodwater species are always a challenge for us, because it always seems that farmers want to irrigate their property on Friday afternoons. And so when we come back on Monday, then we've always got a larger problem than we thought we did. For Culex species, which tend to breed in standing water or stagnant water, it takes anywhere from 7 to 10 days for them to go from egg to adult. And then for Anopheles species, which is the malaria vector, then it takes 2 to 3 weeks sometimes for those species to go through from egg to adult. So each one is a little bit different, and that becomes part of the challenge in us being able to try to find and treat accordingly to be able to try to suppress the numbers. And so the biggest factor is the temperature of the water and the temperature of the area. The warmer it is, the faster that those processes are going to go. So again, here's some different mosquito habitats. These are easy things for us to spot. You see rice fields up in the right-hand corner, wetlands, irrigation ditches, those types of things. Wherever you see vegetation and standing water, it's a perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes. And so these are much easier for us to spot. The backyard sources are much more difficult because we can't see into everyone's backyard. And so what we ask the general public is to go around their yard once a week, take a look for anything that might hold water for 7 to 10 days, and just dump that out. But as you can see here, the green swimming pools, which we visit thousands on an annual basis, has the potential to breed thousands of mosquitoes, which then obviously fly and can have an impact on an entire neighborhood. To just the dog dish that's being left out for a week or so with just a little bit of water in there. Mosquitoes actually can breed in just a tablespoon of water. We've seen mosquito breeding in actually a bottle cap that had water in it. So they don't need much, but these larger sources that are in people's backyards definitely are significant breeding grounds for mosquitoes. So our district uses what we call an integrated mosquito management approach. It's 5 components. The first of that, public information, surveillance, biological control, ecological management, and then of course, chemical control. And so our public information and advertising, we have a very active advertising program doing, you'll hopefully hear us on the radio, see us on television. We do a lot of social media outreach to various zip codes and areas where we find problems. And of course, we go out, we do a lot of media interviews when we start to get virus activity. We do school presentations and presentations at fairs and other events in and around the community to be able to try to just educate people as to what the challenges are associated with mosquitoes and how they can try to protect themselves. Then we go into what we call surveillance. And so our surveillance program is designed to set traps in and around our district and monitor the population for mosquitoes to see if they're rising or falling, what species that we're getting at any particular time. And of course, then we test those mosquitoes to see if they're carrying virus and disease so that we can employ more aggressive interventions. So here's a picture of our lab surveillance. So you can see all of the stars and triangles and things that are out there. These are areas that essentially we pick up on a daily and or weekly basis to monitor the population of mosquitoes in and around any area. So the technician then uses this as feedback to be able to try to figure out, do they need to look in a particular area because their populations are getting higher? Or if we have virus activity in a particular area, then we may mobilize more technicians into a neighborhood to be able to try to look for and find some of the breeding sources that we have. Then we have our fisheries program. So the picture on the right there, these are one of our 23 ponds that we have at our district here on site in Elk Grove. And they're seining, they're pulling that net to pull these little small mosquito fish that you see in the upper left. Mosquito fish are about a couple inches in length, about the size of a guppy, just not as colorful. And then the bottom picture there is our indoor facility where we take these fish out of the ponds on our property and put them into these tanks. And then we can medicate them and salt them and feed them so that when we put them out in the field that they're healthy fish so that they'll survive on their own and they can eat the mosquito larvae in the water. So we plant these mosquito fish in places like rice fields, wetlands, irrigation ditches, backyard swimming pools, horse troughs, wherever we think that they'll survive in the area, we'll plant them. Our district plants about 4,000 pounds of fish per year. That's about 2 million fish throughout just Sacramento and Yolo County. We're probably the largest mosquito fish breeding facility in the country. So very proud of that aspect of our program. We then have what we call an ecological management program, and this is designed to use kind of heavy equipment. You can see a mower up in the right-hand side where we can cut down some of the vegetation so that our technicians can get access to the water sites. We also have a dump truck and a backhoe where we work with landowners to be able to try to facilitate and move some of the standing water off of their property. These are, we work very closely with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Nature Conservancy, Cosumnes River Preserve, lots of different landowners and farmers that have these kind of irrigation or standing water on their property, and we want them to try to implement, some of the best management practices to be able to reduce that. The picture on the bottom right is an overview, a drone shot of our ponds that we have on our facility in Elk Grove. And we also use, in this particular department, we use drones. So we've got a number of different types of drones. This is an application drone. So this is something that typically a technician would have to either walk this, or we would be utilizing an ATV to be able to make this treatment over this standing bit of water. And now we're able to use a drone that can fly, 8 feet off of the ground, disperse the material into the water at a much more efficient way of making the treatments, and then also not having as much of an impact on the environment itself, because we're not putting tire tracks or we're not walking through that area, especially in some of the places that we have in Yolo County where we've got in the fall, we've got, a lot of ducks and habitat that is happening. The drone is much less invasive in terms of us still being able to control the mosquitoes and respect the environment itself. Here's another different type of drone that we utilize. Again, it's got a hopper there on the bottom of the drone that can spread the material out, and we can treat about an acre, about 2 acres every 15 minutes or so. The biggest limitation with drones is actually the battery life. They only last about 15 to 20 minutes before we have to bring them back and then change out the batteries. But it's a pretty efficient process. I'm proud of the program that we built. Then we get into control operations, and this is anywhere from, this is what these technicians do on a daily basis. They are going out and looking for different breeding style areas. Some of those are the backyard swimming pools or wetlands, the rice fields, catch basins is a big part of mosquito breeding that we have in our particular area. And then the bottom right is we also do yellow jacket control. So there's places within our district, especially ones that have high eucalyptus leaves or high eucalyptus trees. There's a lot of yellow jackets in and around that, and we do yellow jacket control as well. So why do we do all this? One, again, for the economic reason of making sure that people aren't going to be inundated with mosquitoes when they're out and about during the course of their day, but also disease. Initially, mosquito control in the United States was designed to combat malaria. Obviously, we have eradicated malaria for the most part. I'll get to that in a second, but eradicated malaria for the most part in the United States, but it's still rampant across the world. But we have other diseases that are transmitted by mosquitoes, and essentially a vector is something that that transmits a disease from a host to either another host or to a dead end. And for West Nile virus is a bird disease. It's carried by birds and vectored by mosquitoes. So a mosquito bites an infected bird, very specifically a crow or a jay or a magpie, that tend to amplify the virus in those particular types of birds, which we have very high prevalence here in the Sacramento Valley. Then they pick up that virus from that bird, and then they transfer that the next time that they take a blood meal. But there are other diseases out there, dengue, obviously malaria, chikungunya, Zika virus, which was in the news a few years ago, and then something that we deal with on an annual basis as well as dog heartworm is transmitted by mosquitoes. So this is West Nile virus activity in California last year. As you can see, we more than doubled what we were seeing in 2022. Last year was a very, very bad year for West Nile in California here. And specifically in Sacramento and Yolo County, we had our worst year since the initial introduction of West Nile virus last year. And one thing I want to try to bring up is that typically these cases that are reported, and it is a reportable disease, so it's reported to the health officer. And then the health officer informs us, and then we go out and we can do surveillance and things around that. But the majority of these cases that get reported are actually the more serious neuroinvasive form of the disease. And so West Nile virus or West Nile fever, if you were to get West Nile virus and exhibit symptoms, you would exhibit initially West Nile fever, which are flu-like symptoms similar to what we've all been used to over the last couple of years with COVID. And so a lot of times people don't get diagnosed. They don't go to the doctor. They feel sick. they stay home for a few days, they drink some orange juice, they sleep on the couch, and they start to get better. And so they never actually go to the doctor. They never get tested for West Nile. So they don't even know that they had it. They just think they had a summer flu. One of the challenges that is here is that if it can escalate into a much more serious disease, what we call neuroinvasive form of West Nile or West Nile neuroinvasive. And that starts to get into encephalitis-like symptoms that can lead to blindness, paralysis, and of course, even death. And so about 80% of these cases that get reported to the state of California are the more serious neuroinvasive form of the disease, because essentially these people are very, very sick and they end up going to the hospital, and then the doctor actually does diagnosis on it with testing, and it comes back as West Nile. So the CDC has an estimate that for every neuroinvasive form of the disease, there are approximately another 30 to 70 cases that go unreported, where people exhibit symptoms, but they just never go to the doctor and it never gets diagnosed. So really, those 428 human cases that were reported, if you were to translate that into potential cases of what the CDC estimates, you're talking 12,000 to 30,000 people that were afflicted with West Nile virus in some form or fashion on an annual basis. So that's pretty significant and something that we should take very seriously, because again, it can lead to very serious implications. There was a study that was done by California Department of Public Health after the initial introduction of West Nile virus in California back in 2004 and 5. And they did interviews with people that had symptoms of West Nile virus. And over 50% of those people were still exhibiting some symptom a year after being bitten. So again, sometimes it gets minimized as to the impact of this particular disease, and we want people to recognize that it is very serious, it can turn into something very serious, and that there's simple things that they can do to try to help prevent that. So that's part of our education program that we do our outreach on. We have some new challenges, and I think I mentioned this last year as well. We have found since 2019 what we are calling invasive mosquitoes. So as I mentioned, we have 24 different kind of resident mosquitoes, species of mosquitoes. Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus, the yellow fever mosquito and Asian tiger mosquito specifically, have started to make their way up into various areas of California. And both of these are becoming established in our area in the Sacramento Valley, and specifically within our district. One of the concerns associated with this is that these mosquitoes, one, like to be around people, like to bite people. And so they also find very small cryptic sources to be able to lay their eggs. And so you can see that bottle cap in the very middle that has a number of mosquito larvae in there. Those are all Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. So they can breed in very, very small amounts of water. And the concern with these mosquitoes is that they're very efficient vectors of more exotic diseases like Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. And so the concern is that if we were to get these mosquitoes established in our area, then we could have the possibility of local transmission of these more exotic diseases. Because on an annual basis, we get reporting of dengue cases of people that have traveled to areas that are endemic for dengue. They get bitten by a mosquito there. They come home. Then they get sick and they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, you have dengue. And they say, oh, okay, well, yes, I was in South America, or I was in Central America. So that makes sense. And so if we have the right species of mosquitoes that can transmit this disease, then we could have a local transmission of that. And in Southern California, just this last year, in Long Beach and Pasadena, that's exactly what happened. They had someone who had traveled to an area, got bitten by a dengue-infected mosquito, came home, then got bitten by a local mosquito that then transmitted dengue to another resident of Pasadena and Long Beach, respectively. So the possibility is there as the world kind of gets smaller and smaller. These are things that we want to make sure that people are aware of and that they can take appropriate precautions to try to avoid. So again, why the concern? They're very efficient vectors of Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Because they're so difficult to find, because they like to be around people and like to be around homes. And that's always been our challenge, has been trying to find locations where these mosquitoes are breeding. And when they're around homes, those are difficult for us to spot. So we've spotted, or we found mosquito breeding in a watering can. We found it in a potato chip bag that had water in it. We found it in a number of very small cryptic sources that you wouldn't think would be breeding mosquitoes. And so that's the long-term challenge for us in terms of these particular mosquitoes becoming established in our area. So again, here's a couple pictures of, these are areas that have all had mosquito larvae of these Aedes mosquitoes breeding in them. So you can see a lot of the pots, the wheelbarrow, the tire is a perfect example, but some plants like the bromeliads that hold just that little bit of water. We went to a resident who was being inundated with mosquitoes, and we did an investigation in his backyard, and he had tons of these bromeliad plants, and they were holding just that little bit of water, and that's perfect for these particular species of mosquitoes. So this is one of our challenges in being able to try to identify this. Here's what we found since 2019. So these are pockets where we have found these either Aedes aegypti or Aedes albopictus mosquitoes. The kind of the gray dots are other trap locations that have been negative. So as you can see, throughout our population centers, we have put out thousands and thousands of traps trying to find these particular mosquitoes. And when we do, then we do have these clusters that are there, but they're not necessarily prevalent throughout our particular district. So this has all been done just in the last 5 years with these detections. So what do we do when we find it? Well, our technicians go door to door, which takes obviously a lot of time to be able to do that, doing inspections of people's front yards and backyards, educating them about what to look for, how to help us with that. So as you can see, it's very labor intensive because a technician will spend anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour at a particular resident looking for and trying to treat any of these small cryptic sources. So one of the bigger challenges that we've been facing over the last few years. And the other aspect that we do is we put out traps. And so while we have different types of traps for different types of mosquitoes, the trap that you see in the picture there, this kind of bucket looking black bucket with a white top, and it's got a fan on top of that. This is one that attracts these particular mosquitoes. And so we'll put these traps out. We have them solar powered. We have the wind meter up top so that we can record the various environmental conditions around it. But we have to also put it in a cage to protect it. Otherwise, people sometimes walk away with them. So not sure what they're doing with the mosquito trap, but that's what happens. So we will trap in and around these areas, and just to be able to try to figure out what the population is, specifically with this species, and then do some level of intervention associated with it. And so part of that intervention that we've employed over the last couple of years has been what we call wide area larviciding. So we've got, and when I say larviciding, this is material that we put into the water that the mosquitoes feed on. And essentially they're like, they create almost like stomach ulcers, I guess, for the mosquitoes as they feed on it. So they'll feed on this material, and then they get an upset stomach, and then they don't survive. So that's the nicest way, I guess, of saying it. So when we find it in a particular area, then we will do these trucks that will go up and down the street that will spray this larvicide, and so that we can find some of those cryptic sources that are in people's backyards. And so, again, this is a very labor-intensive aspect of our program. We tend to do this in the middle of the night, so we'll have trucks out at 3 in the morning that will be doing these types of applications so that we can minimize the impact to people that are, they're sleeping. Nobody's out during that time frame. Again, once we find it, we also do a lot of public outreach, sending press releases, doing targeted social media aspect to zip codes and neighborhoods, and just trying to get the message out as much as we possibly can about what we're finding and what people can do to try to help us prevent that. Another strategy that we've started to investigate, and it's not necessarily widespread as of yet, but it's definitely coming along, and it's called sterile insect technique. And the concept here is that you sterilize male mosquitoes, then you release these male mosquitoes into a neighborhood, and they mate with the wild female mosquitoes, but because they're sterile, then the eggs or the progeny from the female are no good. And this has been shown to be an effective program. There had been a trial that was done down in Fresno County. They're currently doing another one or two in Florida. And in Southern California, they're going to be employing this strategy this year with a different type of sterile insect. So this is a kind of a non-pesticide way to be able to try to control mosquitoes, and kind of an exciting aspect if you're a mosquito geek. Pretty exciting to be able to see a different method of level of control. So, and SIT has been used for a long, long time. They've used it with USDA, with the screwworm, the Mediterranean fruit fly, Mexican fruit fly. So this is not new technology. It's just new technology for mosquitoes. It hasn't been employed for mosquitoes except for in the last few years. Also used in Canada, it was to control the codling moth that was a pest of the apple industry. And it shows 90% reduction. So again, this can be a very pesticide-free method of really crashing a population and only targeting the very specific insect that you're looking for, because you're not releasing, say Aedes mosquitoes don't mate with Culex mosquitoes. So when you target a specific species, you're really only going to crash that one individual population. So there are 3 different types of SIT, sterile insect technique: Wolbachia, irradiation, and genetically modified. So the Wolbachia is a naturally occurring bacteria. It's found in most insects. And if you have a mosquito, a female mosquito that doesn't have Wolbachia, and you mate that with a male mosquito that does have Wolbachia, then the progeny is no good. And so that's the concept. So for Wolbachia, you would infect the male mosquitoes and release those, and then the progeny to the non-Wolbachia infected females means that it's no good. The irradiation way is just that. You take adult mosquitoes, you put them through an X-ray machine, that sterilizes them, and then you release those sterilized males into a neighborhood to mate with the wild females. The genetically modified way is a newer one that's coming through. There's a number of companies that are working with like CRISPR technology to be able to find the particular gene that disrupts the process of the mosquito offspring. And so if they can modify that, but the same concept, so they would modify the genes in a laboratory, then they would breed those mosquitoes out. Then again, you release those mosquitoes, they mate with the wild ones, and the population crashes. So exciting technologies that are available or starting to become available in the world of mosquitoes. So our goal moving forward is to continue to explore. In fact, we have a meeting with a company out of Israel on Wednesday that's going to talk about what their SIT approach is. We're working currently with the University of Kentucky on a Wolbachia trial as well in our particular area. And essentially, we want to be able to try to see how this SIT method would work in our area. And we think we're a good candidate because we're newly finding these species of mosquitoes. We're in places like Florida or even Southern California, the populations of these mosquitoes are much higher than what we're experiencing. So we think that if we could employ some of these techniques, we might be able to significantly crash the population and significantly reduce the risk of local transmission of exotic diseases. Some of our other collaborations, we work with, we call the PACVEX Center of Excellence. These are university and mosquito control districts and public health, state public health departments that are collaborating together with funding from the Centers for Disease Control. And the goal here is to be able to try to forward research and training and collaboration between local districts and universities and state health departments so we can just become more efficient with what it is that we do. And so we as a local district are really good at gathering data, but analyzing that data isn't necessarily our forte. And so that's where the university comes in with students and projects to be able to say, how did this particular treatment work? What were the impacts of weather, wind or temperature or water temperature, those types of things, so that we can just become more efficient with the projects and the products that we use. Some of those projects that we work on, mosquito resistance. And this is always a challenge for us because in the mosquito world, we only have a limited number of products that are available for us that are registered for use to be able to kill mosquitoes. Most of these tend to be agricultural byproducts. So because we don't sell anything, we don't make a lot of money, so we don't get a lot of research done to develop new and innovative control products. So we always have to constantly monitor resistance. And essentially resistance in the insect population is the more that an insect is exposed to a particular pesticide, the more it will build up a resistance to that, and that pesticide at some point in time, and it takes years, but will no longer be effective or will not be as effective as we would like it to be. You want it to be, 100% effective, but we have products that are, 50 to 60% effective. And so those are challenges that we have, and we have to constantly monitor our resistance to be able to rotate products so that we can maintain the two really products that we have. Additional collaborations, we're always looking. We have collaborations with University of Pacific, obviously with UC Davis. We've also worked with PAMCA, which is the Pan-African Mosquito Control Association. And we have hosted at our district representatives from Africa that have come around with our technicians to see how we do things and to learn what mosquito control is like in the United States, so they can take some of those tools back to Africa, because obviously in Africa you've got significant disease issues with malaria. And so we have collaborations with them. We collaborate with the CDC and with universities, and then AMCA is the American Mosquito Control Association, and MVCAC is the Mosquito and Vector Control Association of California. So what do we ask the general public to do? We want people to use repellent. And repellent is almost like sunscreen was 25 years ago. Nobody wanted to use it, and we've got to try to get to the point where they love using repellent, whether we get there or not. We want people to be smiling, and if you're not being bitten by mosquitoes, then you're definitely going to be happier. So we want people to understand there are lots of different types of repellent that's out there, but if you're going to be out when mosquitoes are active, that you should be putting on a repellent. And there are different types that are very effective, some with DEET, picaridin, IR35, which sounds very controversial, and then oil of lemon eucalyptus is a natural one. And so all of these are proven to work by the EPA and sanctioned essentially by CDC as being effective, but it's just a matter of how long they will last. So DEET tends to be the gold standard. That's the one that will last the longest. So if you're going to go out in the woods and you're going to be camping for 3 days, you're definitely going to want to try to bring some DEET. If you're just going out gardening for an hour or so, then the oil of lemon eucalyptus might work for you. And if that's what you want to use, you just may need to reapply it more often. So recommendations, obviously for children, you should, have an adult apply the repellent onto children. Always read the label, read the instructions, just because it is effective, but just because a little works doesn't mean a lot is better. And that's always one of the challenges that we have is making sure that people understand that as well. Read the directions, but use it when you need it. And that's something that we're trying to work on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about ticks, because this is also a part of our program. So in our area, we have Lyme disease, and our district monitors for Lyme disease through that. And for the most part, it is carried by the Ixodes pacificus, or the western black-legged tick, which you can see is kind of all throughout California there. And this is the one that is primarily responsible for transmitting Lyme disease to human population. Again, ticks go through an egg, larval, and then adults cycle, egg, nymph, then larval, then adults. And so it's difficult to do tick control, but we do tick monitoring so that we can post things at trailheads, letting people know that Lyme disease has been found in that particular area. And again, to be able to put on repellent to help with that. All right, so what are we looking for? Well, that didn't work out as well as I wanted to. So some of the site selection factors when we do our tick flagging, we're looking where ticks are going to be, riparian corridors, the species, making sure that we have the Ixodes pacifica species present, shaded with foliage, sites with slight elevation. And then some of the photos here, this is what we do. We're walking along trails. This is a perfect example of where tick habitat may be. Ticks like to what they call quest. They kind of hang out at the end of a blade of grass and they wait for somebody to walk by so that they can try to attach to you and then start to feed on you. Another area, you start to see some of this brush. This is perfect breeding ground where ticks would be prevalent. And you can see then kind of the foliage or the leaf litter. Again, this is a perfect example of where ticks would be held. So in our district, we have, we monitor 20 different collection sites, 5 in Yolo County, 15 in Sacramento County. Most of the ones in Yolo County are up by Cache Creek or Puda Creek. And then in Sacramento County, most of them are around the American River. So we sample typically from October to May. We do a lot of environmental measurements, humidity, temperature, those types of aspects. And then we collect all of them and separate them by sex. So here are the 15 sites, as you can see, along the American River corridor there that we monitor for tick and for Lyme disease. The goal here is, again, to be able to try to help educate the public as to when we do find Lyme in a particular area. And we tend to focus on a little bit of the higher elevation, not that Folsom's really that high or either Cache Creek, but that tends to be where these specific mosquito or ticks tend to habitate. So we tend to do these riparian corridors and then kind of going up a little bit in elevation tends to be where we have success with it. Again, in Yolo County, you're looking at Cache Creek and kind of Puda Creek down there by Lake Berryessa. Those are the areas that we monitor for ticks and Lyme disease. So what do? It's called flagging. And so we drag this 1 meter by 1 meter canvas flag along the trail, along the side of the trail. And you can see that picture in the middle is a tick kind of just hanging out there on the edge of a piece of grass or a small stick. And essentially they're waiting for that flag to come by, or a deer or a rodent or something like that, so that they have that host and they attach to it. And then they'll take their blood meal. So these were areas last year that we had positive Lyme disease sites. So as you can see, quite a bit through the American River. So we want people to be aware of that. We post things at trailheads. And of course, we also offer repellent at our district. If anybody wants to come by, we're more than happy to give them repellent so that they can use it, so that they're not being bitten either by mosquitoes or by ticks and contracting either West Nile or Lyme disease, respectively. Here's what we call our minimum infection prevalence. So in particular areas that we have, the Nimbus Dam overlook tends to have a higher prevalence of Lyme disease in the ticks that we find. But you can see about 1% or a little bit, it's mostly an average of about 2% of the ticks that we collect are positive for Lyme disease. So it is a significant concern, and we want to make sure that people are aware of that so that they can try to protect themselves. And I have a small video that I want to try, hopefully will work. And if it doesn't work, then we'll give that up. So let me see if I can get this video to work, because I think it's kind of interesting. Let's see here. Yeah. Hopefully, do you see Science Take on the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
There's no.
No. Gary, can you tell your computer to add the audio with it?
I think it's a setting in Zoom.
Good movie character. Maybe he can send us the link.
I hope that worked.
Well, we couldn't hear it.
Oh, you couldn't hear it. Well, the images themselves were bad enough, so.
You're on mute, Gary.
Yeah, I think it never works exactly the way you want it to. So hopefully the images were scary enough for you.
They were.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how Mother Nature, Mother Nature works. So the last thing, what do we ask people to do? The basic function is, drain standing water. Dawn and dusk are times when mosquitoes are most active. And those are times to avoid being outdoors. If you do have to go, put on long sleeves and long pants, and defend yourself with an effective repellent, which is what we talked about. And then doors and screens should be in good working order and condition. And then, of course, if you're being bothered by mosquitoes, call us. This is exactly what we do. We typically come out sometimes the same day or the very next day within 24 hours, because the earlier we can do intervention, the better off we are to be able to try to control those adults. And then again, the long-term vision of protecting public health. So with that, you can get more information on our website at fightthebite.net or give us a call 1-800-429-1022. And with that, does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Gary. Do any of the commissioners? Yes, Mark.
I have a few. Gary, before I start questions, I'd just like to say, we like having our own mosquito geek. Thank you.
Thank you.
I noticed in one of your slides that I think it was 2017, we had a big bump in West Nile, and then it dropped off significantly the next year. What was the change that caused it to drop off so much?
A lot of it was partially the drought. And so last year we had a lot of virus activity because we came out of the drought. We had all that water. And so as a perfect example for us in our district, rice fields are a big source of mosquito production. And so in 2022, we had about 18,000 acres of rice in Sacramento and Yolo County. Last year, we had over 45,000 acres. And so you more than doubled your rice fields, which breed a ton of mosquitoes. And so obviously, you have more mosquitoes, a higher abundance aspect of things. They're biting more birds. They're transmitting the disease. So in 2017, actually, it was the beginning of the drought. And that created an entire new theory, which was we started the drought. And what the theory was is that we had less water. And so you think, okay, we have less water, we'll have less mosquitoes, which is true. But the problem is that we still had a high prevalence of birds at that time with the drought. And so you had, wherever there was water, you had a congregation of both the mosquitoes and the birds in the same place. And we tended to see amplification of the virus in particular areas where we were finding water. We weren't necessarily finding as much virus activity, say, in neighborhoods or in other places that were dry, but wherever we were having water, we were seeing a high prevalence of West Nile virus activity in those areas. And so, then we were going through the drought and the numbers tended to kind of balance themselves out a little bit. And then we got this huge wet winter going into last year, and things just blew up for us. And so if I had the right answer, Mark, I think I'd probably be giving speeches to TED Talks or something like that. But we don't have all the answers. We're still trying to figure that out. And I think that's where a lot of what we like, the collaborations between the universities and CDC across the country, is to be able to try to figure some of these things out. How do we get more efficient at what it is that we want to do? Because ultimately our goal is to make sure that people aren't getting sick. And that's our primary mission.
In years past, I remember you asking us to report deaths of blackbirds that we see along the street. Do you still want us to do that?
Absolutely. Because West Nile virus is a bird disease, dead birds are a great indicator of virus activity. Now, if it's got tire tracks on it, then we don't want it. But if you see a dead bird, it's a program actually run by the state of California. But you can call us up and you can report the dead bird. We typically go out and we'll pick it up. and then we bring it back to our office here. We can test it, and it really doesn't matter how old the bird is. And not to be, graphic, but if it's a fresh bird, that's great because you have a little bit more active virus in there. If it's being consumed by other insects like maggots, we can test the maggots. But we've also taken almost a desiccated bird and just swabbed the inside of the skull and could still find virus activity in that. So any type of dead bird, we're more than happy to take. It sounds kind of weird, but we're more than happy to take it because we want to know if there's virus activity that's happening in a particular area. And while birds will fly, just like mosquitoes fly, we don't know exactly where the transmission happened, but it gives us a clue as to where to kind of focus our attention and efforts. And so you can call the district, you can go on our website to get that information. There's also a phone number, 877-WNV bird, West Nile virus bird is the dead bird hotline.
Thank you. Another question. You mentioned a fairly extensive network of sampling for ticks along the American River. Does your website have any data available, what hits you've had at each of those locations?
We have some information, and we're starting to try to get a more interactive mapping situation on our website with both our mosquitoes are pretty good right now, but the ticks have been lagging. So we're trying to figure out the right method to be able to try to convey that. But yes, the information of where we're getting positives is on our website. We're just trying to make it a little bit more user friendly for folks, so it's easier to find.
Okay, and last question. Do you have enough budget to do the job you think is needed in these two counties?
Well, I think the short answer for that is you can always do more, but I think we're very efficient at what it is that we do. We're one of the largest districts in the country, which is kind of interesting from the perspective of, you think Sacramento and Yolo County. There's always funding issues across the state. I know other districts are in more dire situations because especially districts like in the upper Midwest, because their districts are focused on, they have weed control, they have snow removal, and then they do mosquitoes. So they've got, and then as an example, another example is Las Vegas. Las Vegas has had a lot of West Nile virus activity, and it's under their EMD department. But the big focus on environmental management is hotel and bed bugs and then also, the restaurant inspections, as well it should be. And so sometimes mosquitoes take a back seat. And so there's actually an effort right now to have a separate district established in Clark County in Vegas to be able to try to focus specifically on mosquitoes and provide that service to the public. So, but for our district, I think we try to do as much as we can with the resources that we have available. There's always more to do, for sure. There's always more rice to treat. There's always more pools to find. There's always more doors to knock on.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, I have a follow-up
Yes,
question.
Tom.
Where does your funding come from?
Property taxes specifically. So if you own a house in Sacramento or Yolo County, thank you. When you pay your property tax bill, we get, I think the percentage is 0.007 for, so I think if you pay $1,000, I think we get 70 cents of it or something like that. So,
Careful where you spend it.
yeah. I'm sorry, I think we get $7 for every $1,000 that's given. So, so that's where our funding comes from. So when property tax goes up right now, I mean, we're in a pretty good situation, right? The values of homes are high. People are paying high property taxes. That's a good thing. We saw a sharp decline back in 2008, when the market crash hit, and the property values went down. And the amount of money that we were bringing in prior to 2008, it took us 7 years to get back to that level with that drop off. So, but now things are much better.
Thank you. Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious if you do any like partnerships with bat programs also. I think that I thought I'd seen that in other mosquito districts, and I know we have like Yolo Basin Foundation, right? And it seems like that could be effective with some of the rice fields in particular, like what you're doing with the fish in other areas.
Yeah. It's interesting on bats. A lot of people talk a lot about bats, and they are voracious eaters. They eat their double their weight on an annual or on a daily basis. The problem is that their diet does not consist of mosquitoes. And if you think about it, they have limited sight, right? So their radar that's going out, and if they pick up on their radar a big fat moth or a small mosquito, they go after that moth. So there has been some studies, feeding studies as to what is the primary diet of bats. It is a very, very small percentage of mosquitoes. If that's the only thing that's available, clearly they'll eat that. But as you mentioned, you know, you look at the Yolo bypass, and I don't know if anybody's been on those bat tours underneath, which is fascinating to watch. You've got hundreds of thousands of Mexican free-tailed bats that come out from underneath the causeway, and it is quite a sight. But that's one of our highest trap. You've got 500,000 bats that are in that area, and those are some of our highest mosquito producing areas throughout the district. So bats, you know, they can't hurt, and we try to tell people that, but you know, some people think that you know, it's kind of the savior aspect of things. Everything is always helpful. The best help that we can probably ask anybody to do is to look around their yard once a week and dump out any standing water. That'll reduce a lot more mosquitoes than what bats will eat.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Gage.
Aside from what we as individuals can do with checking for standing water, is there anything that the commission can do to help support you? I suppose particularly in your efforts to trying to implement this new SIT methodology for addressing mosquito control?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all of these collaborations. I think the more that we talk with people, with other agencies that understand what it is that we do and how these missions can, each of our missions can kind of collaborate. And as an example, you know, a number of years ago, Stone Lakes, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, you know, was adding in Stone Lakes, and they talked to us as a mosquito control district as they were getting established, and we wrote letters, you know, talking about how the mission of both of our agencies could be fulfilled and that they could be collaborative and can work together. We know that they want to put standing water out on vegetated land. That's going to breed mosquitoes. So we don't want to get in a fight. We just want to be able to try to work with agencies and understand what their mission is and to try to find a level of compromise. That's what we try to do with some of the rice field growers, some of the wetland owners, those types of things. There are BMPs that people can employ, like mosquito fish, or what we call them borrow pits, where that when they draw down the water, all the water or the fish goes into a separate pit, and they don't die. When they drain all the water off of a field, then they leave our fish out there, and then the fish are no good anymore. So there's simple things that we can do. So I think, you know, promotion of what our mission is, of what your commission could do, you know, the other people, the other agencies that you guys reach out to, that when there is something that triggers to say, oh, that might be a mosquito issue, is, you know, then getting us in contact with them so that we can then, you know, start to engage in conversation with other agencies to be able to try to find, you know, what's the compromise between the two, as opposed to trying potentially being at odds.
Right, and I think in chiming in on what Gage was saying, if there is an opportunity where you need a support letter from us for an agency to move forward with something, we welcome you to please come to the commission and ask on your behalf, and we'll be glad to support.
Wonderful, that'd be great. As I imagine, I mean, I think as the SIT concept comes through,
right,
that, you know, the genetically modified one, anytime you say GMO, you know, that scares a lot of folks. And so, yeah, you know, really trying to just dive into the science and getting scientific people that have a good background and understanding and how these things work. You try to take the fear out of people's minds as much as you possibly can. And so I think those are the goals, and however we can try to get as many people on the same page, preaching the same thing, I think is really helpful. We're not trying to do anything that's going to ruin the environment or ruin, you know, the population even of mosquitoes, right? We're not trying to eradicate and get rid of every mosquito that's here. We understand, even though nobody likes them, they're a part of our environment. And so it's a matter of, that's why we're a control district. And so that's what our goals are, and appreciate the support from that perspective. And yeah, absolutely. As we start to move forward with that, maybe giving a more in-depth presentation, and maybe getting a letter that just says, especially as sometimes these things go through the legislature,
Right.
that's always helpful as well.
Yeah, yeah, a body like this would be good to have a letter of support from. If you need it, just let us know. Are there any other questions for?
Yes, I have another one.
Oh, okay, Tom has one more.
And then I do.
Oh, and then another follow-up.
How are you, with the new mandate for the groundwater recharge in California? Have you run up against any issues with groundwater recharge that they're trying to do?
Yeah.
Against standing water?
Right. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'll say no officially, yes, a little bit informally. I mean, I think as, the use of water here in California, it goes through lots of different changes. And I love what I think Mark Twain said, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. He's not wrong. And, and as those regulations change, it's really a matter of communication. And that's the goal of what we try to do with our technicians that are out in the field. They become very familiar with the residents. They become familiar with the farmers. They become familiar with the players that are out there. Like when we're in Conaway Ranch, out in the Yolo Bypass, we're at U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, we're at CRP. We try our best to establish positive relationships with all of those folks, and ultimately, and with the farmers, and ultimately, just let us know. That's all we're asking for. If you're going to turn the water on, just call us, because that's what our job is. Our job is to go out there and be able to try to control, and then we'll engage with you on, are there BMPs that you can employ that can help reduce what it is that the mosquito production on your property. And again, we have heavy equipment. We've got a backhoe and a dump truck, and we'll do grading and other aspects of things to be able to try to minimize whatever that impact is. We don't want to stop anybody from doing what their mission is. We just want to work collaboratively with them to be able to try to find a solution.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had actually been talking with the groundwater authorities, because some of their projects that they're doing with the farmers.
Yeah.
Groundwater recharge.
Right.
Eugene has a question. Go ahead, Eugene.
Hi, thank you very much for your presentation. I live in Elk Grove, and I removed my standing water this afternoon.
Good for you.
And I'm really big on data. So when I look at the 428 cases that you had shared, do you have information on your website or that is available about the where and the who of these 428 cases?
Yeah, the 428 cases in California. In Sacramento County, we had 53 cases, and in Yolo County, we had 29 cases. Both of those are about 4 times what we typically have had over the last 3 years. So we led the nation in human cases last year, which is not something I like to lead the nation in. We do not post specific locations on our website from a HIPAA standpoint. We get the information from the health officer, and then we have an MOU with them to where we have to keep that information confidential. We have links to the California Department of Public Health that has more information on a little bit on how many are neuroinvasive, how many are West Nile fever, how many are blood donors. And so, but we've been asked not to put, like locations on our website for where those human cases are. We can estimate, and I think there is some mapping that's on the California Department of Public Health. So what we try to say is that we deal with the mosquitoes, and we let the state and the county deal with the people from the human standpoint, because our job is controlling mosquitoes specifically. And obviously that's a driver of what our goals are. But in terms of the reporting goes through the county health officer, gets reported to the state, and then they handle kind of the information as it relates to human cases that are coming through. We'll do collaborative press releases with the health officer. We were very active in Yolo County with Dr. Sisson, and then obviously in Sacramento County with Dr. Kassiri. We have a great relationship. We tend to host their nurses once a year to come out to our district and kind of see what it is, because I'm the one that gets the phone call from them that says, hey, we have a West Nile case, or we have a Zika case, or we have a chikungunya case. And they'll give us information, but we can't post that on the website.
Yeah, I completely respect that. I'm concerned about, as you're responsible for treatment and prevention, that a nexus about location may matter, you know, where these people are experiencing, you know, the disease. And I guess I'm also concerned, has there been any discussion about the increasing amount of homelessness, for example, that we're seeing? And, you know, that to me, in my mind, would be a hot spot of activity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We hand out repellent on a regular basis to homeless shelters throughout our district to make sure that they're trying to protect themselves. We do a lot of surveillance in and around some of those areas so that we can detect if and when there is virus activity in there, and we'll do some local education to that. But yeah, clearly that's a big challenge, because those are exposed people. They're people that are going to be exposed 24 hours a day. We try to do a level of education through the homeless shelters to be able to get information out. And of course, we hand out repellent. And then our activities are designed to help protect them and protect those that are in homes. So, you know, we're hoping that our surveillance program helps pick those things up. And then our control efforts can help suppress the population so that the risk is lessened to those unhoused populations.
Any other questions? Well, Gary, we'll let you go, but again, thank you for your annual presentation. I always learn something. It's always very fun to have you. So we very much appreciate you putting up with us and coming and speaking to us every year.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the invitation, and appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Next on the agenda is John Lundgren. He is a sustainability manager for Sacramento County Sustainability. I think he's on. There he is. Hi, John. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. So I have a little update again, some exciting news. I have 4 items to talk about. Maybe a couple will be repeats, but last year, Waste Management and Recycling started a compost self-service giveaway out at the Branch Center complex. That was a success. This year, in fact, starting today, that's back for the growing season, not only at Branch Center, but they've expanded it to Gibson Ranch Park with 2 self-service locations now, where you can go and pick up your own compost for your garden that comes from all of our diverted green waste. And so if you want to know more and be able to read the specifics, you just go to sacgreenteam.com on that one. And then I'm probably stealing somebody's thunder for their updates, but I'd like to tell you that the county will be at the Ecos Earth Day event Sunday, April 21st. We have 9 departments this year participating, including Janaea's group there, you guys, EMD. But we also have Animal Care, Business Environmental Resource Center, Waste Management and Recycling, Water Resources, Stormwater Program, Public Health, Sustainability, I'll be there, voter registration, and Personnel Services will be there. So the county's a proud partner of that event, and we'll just be very happy to help uplift the Ecos event. This year's theme is Build Green. Number 3 is, you've heard me talk about our efforts on the CPRG grant through the US EPA. The Sac Metro Air District did file our phase 2 application in time for that here in early April. We're asking for around $94 million. Again, that'll be 3 components: Green Means Go, mobility hubs, and carbon farming. And then make it 5 things. I also wanted to remind you, I think I sent an alert out through Jill that the Board of Supervisors was having a infill workshop last Wednesday. I did attend that. It was very informative. And so if you have a chance to review that on the Clerk of the Board's website, I might say it's, for those of you that like to geek out and really get into the data, I gathered a lot of intelligence. The planning department did a really good job, community development, of setting up a workshop where the board was able to talk very freely to staff and with the public about their desires and priorities around infill and housing. And, you know, it's not often that we get a chance to get so much good information about what their priorities are and where they'd like us to focus. So it was a really good place to gather a lot of information. if you're an interested party to understand the signals and the priorities the board's giving staff in that arena. And then lastly, if anything I said slipped past you and you want to hear more about it, we just dropped the county's second podcast in the series called County Conversations, Sac County Podcasts. And I was the featured speaker for that. So we've heard what groups like the SEC and my climate task force have said about the county getting out and doing more public outreach and utilizing social media more. And so in that podcast, you'll hear a lot about what I just talked about. And there's another 18 minutes of information that you probably already know from our engagement here, but this is really targeted at the general public. I think the group that your group and everything I do, we'd like to have more people, right? And so I'm happy to say that, Janaea is such a great partner. We coordinated before that podcast, and I was able to highlight a number of the great programs that EMD is doing, including highlighting the SEC as one of the places where citizens, neighbors, stakeholders can come to be involved and learn more from their own citizen advisory panels and give their input. So check it out on the web, very easy to find. You can just Google Sacramento County Podcasts. It'll be the first result that you receive there. And that's the end of my update this month and available for questions.
Thank you. John, I have a question. Is the compost free?
Yes, of course. That was
Thank you.
that was the best part.
Okay, I have a question too.
Yes, Mark.
You have to load it yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
They're gonna give it to you for free.
Self-serve, yes.
Push if you can.
Going along with the same subject, compost. City of Galton also has free public compost pickup. In the back lot of City Hall, by the way, it's self-help.
Drive up and do it.
Yeah, you bring your own bags
I love
and
it.
shovel.
I love it. Okay. Any other questions for John? I think we're good, John. Sounds like you guys are making good progress.
All righty. Well, stop by and see us at Earth Day. Eugene, good to see you there. I know you came to see me at Earth Day last year. So look forward to seeing some friendly faces.
Good to see you, John.
Thank you. Good night, John.
Good
Let's
night.
see. Number 7 on our agenda is approve the final version of our revised mission vision statement. Everybody got it in the email. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at this final version. And all the final edits in red. And so at this time, are there any comments or corrections or things that you feel need to be changed?
I don't have any comments on the some changes, but last month we approved the final version.
Oh, did we?
Yes,
We did, but we had discussed that we were open to more changes for a final.
Oh, this is a
And
final.
this is the
Well, it's
final.
final until somebody comes up with more recommendations.
Correct.
So
Well,
it
we've
could
only
be-
worked on it for 3 months, so we can continue.
So do we need to vote on this final?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to take a vote on the final, if you'll call roll, Jill.
I'll move to approve the.
Oh, yeah, motion, thank you.
I'll second.
Second by Mark.
Laura Nickerson,
Aye.
Christine Casey,
Aye.
Dr. Anthony DeRigi,
Aye.
Richard Hunt,
Aye.
Eugene Lee,
Aye.
Tom Mulson,
Aye.
Gage Marchini,
Aye.
Jacqueline Toda, Mark White.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Number 8 on the agenda is we have letters of invitation of the SEC for, I believe, Citrus Heights and Rancho Cordova. And was it Mark? Did you put these together?
No, but I just did a little editing. on
You
it.
edited them? Okay, all right. So if you could, hopefully you've all reviewed those. Are there any additions, corrections, comments on these letters?
If we quote dollars in here, where do these dollar amounts?
I think Joe estimated them from what the the other jurisdictions are paying. This doesn't include the pizza we used to get. You know.
Oh, we used to get pizza.
Yes.
That was before my time.
Yeah, I know, missed out.
This is gonna cost me with Joe.
Okay, so we have we'll need a motion to go ahead and send these out to these 2 cities.
I move that we go ahead.
I'll second.
One comment before we do, can we update the date? Wait a minute, that's just 2 days ago, never mind.
A week.
You're ready and you're ready in
I'm-
May.
But I will get rid of the comma in the date line. There's an extra comma after 2024.
Yeah, I see that now. Okay. All right, so who did the first and second?
Okay, all first.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. Go ahead and do roll call.
Laura Nickerson,
Aye.
Christine Casey,
Aye.
Dr. Anthony DeRuigi, Richard Hunt,
Aye.
Eugene Lee,
Aye.
Tom Wilson,
Aye.
Gage Marchini,
Aye.
Jacqueline Toda,
Aye.
Mark White. Motion passes.
Thank you. One thing I would like to say on these cities that do not have representation, you know, letters are one thing, but if anybody runs across somebody involved in these cities, councils that would want to take the baton for this, that is really the best way we're going to get it done. So keep your eyes and ears to the ground on
Can I
that.
make a comment about that?
Mhm.
Talk to Ms. Jill about this, so it's completely my interpretation of what she said. For another city to be added, we have to change the ordinance.
Mhm.
All jurisdictions have to approve the ordinance.
Mhm.
It becomes kind of a load.
Yes, it
And
does.
then the real question is, well, what do I get out of this load?
Mhm.
But I'm happy to go if somebody wants somebody to go with them.
Yeah, that's why I advocate within the city councils is really what we would need.
And my best estimate would be it would take them 6 months.
You mean to change the ordinance?
Well, with all the jurisdictions, yeah.
Mhm.
The earliest.
That's fast tracking.
Yeah, but yeah, so really would have to have somebody probably within the council that wants to fight for this. So let's just keep our ears and not, you know.
Well, it
ground.
takes a minimum of three months just for them to get on board and appoint my position. It
Right,
takes 3 months.
right. Right. It's not a fast, easy process. But if somebody's passionate enough about it. you know,
That's true, and you
They'll
know,
push it
very
through.
well, they could have some
Yeah,
council
there
members.
could be a
who are.
really hot dog environmental person
Well,
that
you
really
know,
wants to
honestly,
fight for it.
especially Rancho, the way it's growing,
Just gotta find that person.
that's all. Sounds easy to me.
Yep, sounds easy. Let's do it. Okay, where did my agenda go? Here it is. So number 9, what we need to do is approve the draft minutes from March 18. You got that, and hopefully you reviewed those. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes that need to be done?
I have a correction. I was trying to count the people in the header, so I could make sure that the roll call was correct, and I noticed that Eugene was missing in this one. And I know they were new, but Gage is on there.
Oh, you mean the upper left?
Yeah, on the letterhead, Eugene was missing. And then my name was spelled wrong in the text.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I
no,
don't
I'm
really
sorry.
care, but since I was commenting on the other issue,
Where is it spelled wrong?
Justine.
just
And where is that,
in
Christine?
the roll call.
Actually, my
Oh,
name is
Justine.
misspelled local too.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, extra G
no.
in
We
there.
already started that.
Oh, there is 3 Gs. There's 3 Gs. in re-
I wouldn't even have brought it up if it
Good
wasn't
measure.
for the letterhead issue, but.
Yeah, the name's White. You did just
Okay,
perfect.
those are 3 corrections. Any others? Good catches, people. All right, if there's no other corrections, we need a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion with corrections.
Second.
Okay, take the roll call.
Laura Nickerson,
Aye.
Christine Casey,
Aye.
Dr. Anthony
Aye.
DeRuigi, Richard Hunt,
Aye.
Eugene Lee,
Aye.
Tom Wilson,
Aye.
Gage Marchini,
Aye.
Jacqueline Toda,
Aye.
Mark White.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 10, we'd like to hear the EMD Director's Report from Jeanette.
So good evening, actually. So thank you to John for bringing up Earth Day. And so EMD will be participating in Earth Day. We're really excited about it. It's always fun to be able to celebrate Earth Day. We'll have our incident response staff person there with their truck, and then we'll have a representative from the environmental health and then the environmental compliance divisions. So bring your questions and chat with them about our department and things that we're doing. So
Nice. Are we going to get you flyers for the awards?
Absolutely.
Okay, can we
If
do
you
that,
can
Jill?
give- Yeah, and Jill will make sure that they have it for the booth.
Yeah, just
And
a
I think
little,
a QR code too, we wanted to be.
is the QR code on the flyer now?
I have to create a new.
Well, if you don't have time, then. that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah, so I'll have award, I'll have the applications like physically printed, but then I'll also just print Kayla's flyer that she
Right.
did. And I'll put a new QR code on it. It's not a problem.
Oh, okay, and then we'll have those for the booth, so that people can at least see that it's there.
Absolutely.
They can
Yeah,
take
we'd
it.
be happy to have that there.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Any questions for Janaea?
I have a question, and I should have asked this when Gary was on, because he was talking about coordination. I'm assuming that you all coordinate on your pool monitoring. If you find one that's green, do you call up?
If it's green, there's other
Technical.
issues. So that's a really good point about mosquitoes. So the pools that we visit are public pools. So
You don't do
they're,
backyard pools?
we don't do backyard pools. So
Okay.
they're gonna be, public use pools, condominiums, apartment buildings, things like that. If they're green, they probably have no chlorine in them, and that's a violation. And of course, then you can't see through them, and then that's a safety issue. Likely the pool will be closed. But I would like to follow up on our environmental team if they also do referral for vector control. And they may do that, so thank you. We'll check in on that,
Yeah, that'd be good.
but they will get
It's
closed.
a good idea, they should.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I know they have a lot of problems, but it would, if they have a lot, I wouldn't be surprised if mosquitoes weren't also in there.
I would think that
I
would
would
be
think so.
absolutely one of them.
You would actually hope that people who live there would say something.
And on the note of
Hopefully
pools,
not.
we are doing quite a few free public for the White Lake community trainings. And so pool and spa, operator maintenance is one of them, and that's going to be, I believe, on Wednesday is going to be another one. So we're doing that throughout the summer. We started in April, well, actually in March, and we're gonna do that all the way through July. And so we're helping to keep them going and that they're ready for their pool inspection. We're also doing free workshops for community events because those are starting to come up with all of the summer activities. So these event coordinators, they'll bring in all the vendors for the food. And so we try to coordinate with them ahead of time so they can get their permits together and the package together, because we need to do the inspections usually the day before, the morning of, before the event takes place when they're setting up.
Oh, wow.
So we want to do some outreach on that too. We've also got compact food operators and body art. So we're really trying to pull in as many programs as we can to do these compliance activities with them and be able to provide them the information they need prior to us doing our inspections. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up, and there'll be more information coming in the coming months about this, is that we're looking at doing a new type of compliance school or compliance activities for our hazmat facilities. And so previously we had done, a few years back, we have done what's called an enforcement credit. So when we would do enforcement activities, if we received a penalty in, we would do a credit back to facilities as a way that the ones that are in compliance, as a way to say that you're in compliance, and so this is a credit monetarily back to them. And we weren't seeing a huge impact with compliance or with less violations. And so what we're looking at is doing a new program where we're providing an ongoing compliance school. And so we're able to bring them in and talk about hazmat and underground storage tanks, above ground storage tanks, what the regulations are, how they can be in compliance, assist with their reporting, et cetera. So we're really excited to start that program. So we're looking at coming back to the SEC at some point in the next few months to give you more information on that as we're moving towards into that direction.
It sounds like people just were gonna be compliant to be compliant, not because they got a money credit.
The credit was, maybe $20,
Yeah.
$15, and it really depended on our enforcement activities the year previous. So it wasn't a huge
Yeah.
incentive, and we think this will have a bigger impact.
Okay.
So more information to follow.
So do you get a lot of new people in these training sessions?
Well, depends on the training session. So for example, our training session with the cockroach, we get a lot of new people in there. They're coming in there as they're interested in that kind of activity. Sometimes we get repeat if it's larger operations or larger programs like underground storage tanks. We'll see a lot of the same people because that's a smaller community. But we're also wanting to expand our compliance to also include facilities that are looking at, they're going to be heading towards an enforcement path, heading down that enforcement path. So we want to bring them in ahead of time. So that'll be a nudge and say, this is a really good thing for you to do, and you'll have this information. You can return to compliance and have all of this information. So it varies on the program, depending on what it is.
Was there a problem recently with illegal tire dumping?
Oh, I saw that too.
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
Did it make the news? I missed
Yeah,
that.
it was out on the road to the landfill, I think it was, yeah.
What was the,
There was some folks who were collecting tires and getting paid for it and dumping them alongside the road
oh, nice.
for somebody else to take care of.
Okay. yeah.
I'd like to say that's new, but
Would be
it's
nice
kind of
if
an
it was.
age-old problem. Yeah, tires are kind of a tough
They
one.
made the news.
Is it a tire fire still burning at Patterson?
No, I think it's been out a while.
I hope not. The tire regulations are very interesting in terms of how many there can be on a property and how they're stacked and when they're in compliance and when they're not. It's a very interesting set of regulations for waste tires.
Could one characterize your revised training approach as being something just to, in essence, improve the efficiency of the department?
I think you could.
Yeah, it
You
seems to me
know,
like it is.
and we're looking at other ways that we can reach the community, the regulated community, that's beneficial to them. As opposed to, and really seeing an impact. And so, yes, that would be efficient, is inspections that go smoothly and less violations or less items for correction, I like to say, are better for everyone. The business feels good about what they're doing. The regulated, for us as the department coming in feels that, what we're saying is actually being done. So it's actually better for everyone. And so having these, increased compliance really does create an efficiency.
That goes back to the public outreach is to get compliance rather than enforcement, because you're after compliance, obviously, for public safety and all other.
And that really is what we're out there for.
Yeah.
I mean, that's first and foremost.
I do have one
serves everyone.
clarification on the pool outreach program that you have. That's not for Joe Blow homeowner, that's could be for the pool guy if he does public pools also. But it's not for Joe Blow homeowner.
Right, and the, private swimming pools are not regulated, so really unfortunately can have a pool that's out of compliance in terms of not having enough chlorine in it or, algae growing in there. There's really not a body that would regulate that.
Well, it seems to me like the best course for a neighbor who looks over a fence would be to call mosquito vector.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As your first stop.
That's what you
Yeah, so.
Or, to keep that relationship with your neighbor, you might knock on the door and say, did you know about mosquitoes and how they can breed on all different types of sources of water?
I don't know, I've found neighbors that already have a green floor.
Let me give you some information about
Yeah,
that.
slip it under the door. All right, are there any other questions for Janaea? Thank you, Janaea, very much. I appreciate you taking out the information to the booth
Absolutely.
on the SEC award
No,
program.
we would be happy to promote the awards. They're a great thing, and I think a lot of people would like to know about it. So this is a good way to do that.
Good, thank you so much. Okay, next up, agenda number 11. Report back on the SEC commissioners monitoring of different agencies. Now, before we do that, I did want to question, I saw did we send around the list again, Jill, to have the new commissioners look at, we were going to do that, right?
We were gonna do that.
Okay,
I don't think I did.
okay, I don't remember seeing it either. So, so for Gage and Eugene, what we have is we've all and Jacqueline, yeah, we all have signed up for different agencies, and then we would go and monitor their agendas and their minutes, or you could watch their podcast of their meeting. And when you come across things that could be directly related to what the SEC needs to know about, you would report back that this is what you heard at the Galt City Council or the Folsom, whatever, or Sacramento County Board. What other things do we have? The Park Commission, there's all kinds of various agencies. And so since we've lost some commissioners, and I personally would love somebody to take over Sacramento County, because it's just because I've gotten too busy to deal with it, and it's really big. There's a lot going on. So if you could send out that list again, and what we might want to do, should we start out with it all blank again and let everybody?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Good idea.
Now, for instance, you would stay because you're the only representative, so you would stay on those, right? But there's 5 Sac County reps, so I would really like somebody else to do it besides me, because I just haven't been able, I've not done a good job lately,
You
so.
need to practice. You need to practice.
Yeah, I had 2 weddings and 2 grandbabies in 365 days, so it's been a very busy year. So, fun but busy. So if you just send that list around and people can chime in on what they would like to do. And then you guys can look at all the agencies and like decide which one you might be interested in monitoring for any activity. Well, that's how that goes.
The other thing, may I add, is that I've never assumed that because I'm a county appointee, I need to just monitor county agencies.
No, right,
If I see
correct.
something going on in the city, I would say something about that as well.
Yes, right, if you just came across it.
Yep.
Yes, and you can also, if you come across an article that directly relates as well, you can send it to Jill, who will then forward it out to the group just to review for our FYI kind of benefit. So that's another thing.
Yeah, we used to routinely review newspaper articles.
Yeah.
That have
That
some
was what it
interest
was.
in.
Right, that's the other thing, yeah. Newspaper articles are like gone.
Newspapers, yeah.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah. So that all being said, does anybody that's currently monitoring agencies have anything to report?
I'm keeping track of a new effort by the waste management people. A bill was passed, as we talked about before, to have packaging manufacturers reduce or create packaging that is more recyclable.
Mm-hmm.
Bad example is the little drink boxes that have 3 or 4 different kinds of plastic.
The
Each
little,
one,
the little juice boxes?
little juice, yeah, the ones the kids love, the ones I can't get the straw through.
Right.
Each piece of plastic would be assessed a fee of $0.01. So there's a plastic around the box, there's a plastic straw, the box is plastic, and I forget what else is. So it becomes a real number after a
That
couple.
hasn't passed yet? I thought-
Oh, it's passed, but
Yeah.
now they're developing regulations,
Okay.
but it's going at glacial pace. So it's
I'm
gonna be a while, but
sure.
it is the first one in the country.
I'm sure,
And it got past the packaging lobby.
right, and so now the companies are having to deal with it.
No, it's a committee made up of interested parties. So it's the companies, the lobbyists, as well as people in the take back business, as well as the state staff. That's a big deal.
Yeah, keep us updated, I'm very interested in that.
There's nothing happening, so
Yeah.
yes, I will.
Yeah, keep us
But all
updated
I
on
hear
that.
is we defend, we push the meeting on.
Because, ultimately, you hope that the businesses find better, more
Oh,
environmentally
they
friendly
will.
ways
Oh,
to
they
save money.
will. They will.
I mean,
Oh,
the
money.
penalties are clear, and those,
Yeah.
that little penny doesn't look like much, but
Yeah, add it up, wow. Good, thank you.
On a similar vein, I saw South Lake Tahoe just passed their no more plastic water bottles.
I saw that.
is that right in the
I think it's
basin?
the first, no, I think it's just the city of South Lake Tahoe. But it's the first city in.
And Truckee?
And Truckee, okay. First city in Sacramento, in California, I think, to do it.
Yeah,
Big deal.
good, wow, that is a big deal, we'll have to keep an eye on that too, see how that goes. See
So
what
in
they
other words,
use,
they
what kind
can't
of
be sold
alternatives they're
within
gonna
the
use.
communities?
Yeah.
But you could bring it in.
If it's less than a gallon, and then, so the alternative is metal, aluminum ones, basically like they're doing in the beers, like twist off ones.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
I see water sold in aluminum cans too.
Mhm.
They have those cardboard
Yep.
box water, the ones that come in the box.
Okay,
Really?
yeah,
Didn't they just pass a bill about forever chemicals in water, drinking water?
There was something,
I'd like to see how they plan on getting it out of drinking water. Because if it's in the well water that's untreated, that you're
Well, they
drinking
just-
already,
they
that
just
means you
said-
have to start
They
treating
said
the well.
drinking water
EPA drinking water
standards,
standard, yeah.
and they haven't addressed the technology behind it yet. so.
No, they haven't.
But working
Because,
on
I
it in
mean-
Maine that was where PFAS was first detected in
Yeah.
municipal water, so there's some work being done there, but. it's gonna be-
so are you saying it was detected in Maine in municipal water?
Yeah, that was the first
Has
one.
California sampled municipal water?
Yeah, we have it, it's everywhere now,
It's
but
everywhere.
Maine is just like ahead of the curve in trying to figure out how to eliminate it from their drinking water.
If you can do it in Maine, you should be able to do it here.
So what's gonna happen is your water rates are gonna go through the roof.
You already have.
No, and the sewer rates have gone through the roof. Now it's gonna be the water rates.
yeah, all this stuff costs money to depollute things, right?
Yeah,
People want it, but complain about paying for it.
Yeah.
yeah,
What's new?
yeah.
All right, so Jill, we're gonna send that around, that list around for agencies that we have. And also if people see an agency that's missing, please add that on as well to the email list, and then we'll look at it next month. Agenda item number 12, commissioner comments. First off, Christine, if you will do a little report for the awards committee update.
Yes, so we've commenced our regular meetings. One of the things that we wanted to make sure was that we connected with you about the Earth Day and that we can have some broader advertising. We also have a spreadsheet that I don't know if it has been shared, but we can share it. And it's essentially one of the biggest issues we have is that people don't like receiving awards. I don't know what it is, but we worked really hard last year on outreach to connect to as many people and just let them know we have this available award, what it's about, and trying to solicit applications. It's a very easy one-page application. So we have a spreadsheet to track kind of those outreach efforts. So if you know of people doing good work or some businesses or agencies, entities, schools, put it on the list, send them an email, and so we can just track and then follow up later if needs be, because a lot of times people won't really also act until the week before the deadline. So that's where we're focused now. Otherwise, we're kind of following our timeframe from last year, so we know when we need to review the awards, when Jill needs to order things, and we're all set for that. I think that's the biggest update.
One thing we talked about last year was actually being more proactive in preparing applications for people that we wanted
Yes,
to apply.
we could. It's very hard. It's not hard. It should be very easy because it's like a paragraph. So yes, if it comes to that, we can help nudge with some starter language for folks. But Laura's been really good about mentioning to our presenters and whatnot, you should apply for this. I have a business card from when we got a presentation from Fleet Services and their works. They've won national awards, for example, for electrifying Sacramento's fleet. So things like that, anything you come across in your day-to-day life or anywhere, just keep in mind that we have these awards coming and we need people to apply for them.
We also encourage you guys to, if you know any teachers that know the science department heads of the school, those are the ones that should be talked to directly. About this, did you send out to the whole commission the flyer and the application and the spreadsheet? Or is that just to us?
I did. It was a separate email.
Did everybody get that?
It wasn't with the agenda packet.
Okay, did everybody get that?
I think I did.
Yeah, so you could just attach to emails, you can attach the flyer, you can attach the links to the applications, and then follow up with phone calls, what I would really recommend when you're sending these out,
Yeah.
so.
Quick clarification question. For the awards, for those who are, can they be nominated and be considered, or do they need to apply themselves?
We've done both.
Okay. So either one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done that with people. Somebody has
Yes.
nominated a person and filled out the application for that person. So I imagine you could do that for an agency too.
Okay. So either way.
Have we ever given FEU Center an award? You know, Joe?
FEI?
Not,
However, I never given
Oh,
her.
I was like, what are we?
not since I started Subby, almost 11 years.
FEI? I tried to get Wildlife Care Association to apply too. You know, and save 7,000 animals a year or take
That
them
seems
in.
justifiable.
That's, yeah, that might be one where you.
But 150 volunteers.
Yeah, they say, I
Yeah.
nominated you, do you accept? So-
That actually is a good idea. I can't nominate because I'm on the commission. Okay, well, I'll figure it out. But yeah, we have lots of agencies out here that we just need to kind of tap into and help them along.
I don't think there's any restriction on us being able to nominate.
Well, then I can't be the evaluating the awards then either.
You
We
won't
can
be-
always recuse ourselves
I could
for
always recuse
certain,
ourselves
from
for
that.
certain entities if
Okay.
we have a conflict.
All right,
as
well,
they come in.
let me see about that, because I know I've asked them before, and they're just so busy during the season that they don't get around to it. Okay, any other questions about the awards process?
We're just thinking about Earth Day, you know, the folks at these volunteer booths and everything, they're pretty busy and they're not likely to get over to the MD, pick up an application.
Oh,
If
the
anybody,
booth people.
I mean, if anybody isn't gonna be there, they could pass.
They can pass it
Oh,
around, I see what you're
See a lot of
saying.
volunteer groups there.
That's the 20th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't go. Where's it at, Janine? Southside Park, okay. Yeah, if one of you guys can go and then just walk around to the booths with our application and encourage them to,
If I'm there, I'll do it.
Yeah, okay, that would be good. Always that face-to-face, hand, it's always better, always better.
Also, put it on your social media, but reach out, and that's what the tracking spreadsheet is also for, to make sure we're not doubling our efforts. So if you want to reach out to, the board members that you were appointed by or city council, making sure that because they may have ideas then like, oh, I have a distinguished constituent who would be great for this, so.
And we have had that before.
Also, people who were not successful last year. should
Yes.
be reconsidered this
Yes,
year.
and we can go back to our spreadsheet last year of applicants and urge folks to apply again, because we did end up getting quite a few at the end. Just took a little
She
nudge.
is a great slate,
Mhm.
amazing.
It just takes a little boots on the ground. All right, next up on the commissioner comments is I have asked Richard, since I don't ever remember really looking at it myself either, to just give us bullet points on the SEC ordinance as far as what our scope and limitations are going forward. We have a lot of new commissioners. It's been a long time since I read that, but it's been a long time since I've looked at it. So Richard, would you like to just give us some highlights there?
Yeah, was handed out here in our agenda package. Environmental Commission Chapter 2.135. This came from the 1986 ordinance that created the Environmental Commission. And the highlights really is we have one general direction, and then we have 7 other specific directions that kind of follow up on that. The general direction is that our responsibility is to provide information, analyses, and advise the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors and the city councils of Sacramento County for the purposes of implementing effective comprehensive environmental protection and management programs. And so that really just says we have the authority to talk to people in the county and or the city councils and their various departments.
But it isn't limited to people who are members, cities that are members of the commission.
Pardon me?
And that talking to the cities is not limited to the cities that are members of the commission. It's all the cities in the county.
Well, I guess that's a question of debate. I would think that it's limited to the sponsors of who direct us here and not the other cities. Just like it is
for the city of 86.
The other, and so this kind of follows up. Several years ago, we actually submitted a comment letter outside of the county, and we were reprimanded for doing so. And we've kind of learned since then, we really got to follow the limitations that are laid out in the commission or in the ordinance. Behind this are 4 specific directions that establish our relationship with EMD. To assist and advise the department in the formulation of implementing its programs, assess and analyze for approval local measures that they implement on behalf of the state and federal government, review and recommend approval ordinances to support their activity, EMD's activities, and finally initiate investigations for the purpose of advising the department and the board of supervisors. So that it is our role to help and advise EMD in their activities. And finally, there's 3 specific paragraphs authorizing us to do activities if we're requested to by the cities or the county. And that includes provide ongoing policy advice on other matters before the city councils and the board, appropriate, including act as a reviewing policy where we're concerned, and then finally advise and make recommendations to county departments, city departments within the county. We have actually taken a lot of activities on our own behalf to talk to these departments because that's what follows under our first general rule. So the key here is that we have a lot of flexibility within our authority and responsibilities, but we are limited to the specific agency of the county and city. That's basically it.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions about this?
Well, one good example would be the food inspection program. When I was on the commission when we actually worked with EMD to create that program.
Yes, and we also recommend a budget amendments as they request, they go forward to.
That's correct.
We were also asked to review the climate action proposed plan for the county, right? I mean, didn't they ask us to review that? Didn't John ask us to review?
He said it was open to us because we have
Yeah.
a public road here. We did receive a request several years ago from an applicant with a environmental impact report for the planning commission, and they asked us to review that DIR and provide our comments on that. And we did do that.
Yeah, I remember that one, yeah.
So, again, we have flexibility to take on a lot of activities, but we are limited to the extent we can.
To stay
If
within
there's any
our,
question about whether we should or not, she should probably ask the county council. Because she's the one that's gonna be on the hot seat.
Don't put me on.
So that's it.
Well, but following up on our conversation from last week, I think it came up in the context of how do we encourage Rancho Cordova or Citrus Heights to want to be involved. And maybe it is like you commented, Mark, maybe it's through our first power and duty to provide information and analysis to city councils within Sacramento County.
And include Rancho or Citrus.
If there's things that, I suppose if they're doing things that would trigger this idea of implementing effective environmental protection and management.
Well, all cities in the county use some of the county services. Some more than others. I believe Rancho has a contract with the Sacramento County for their police, they use the sheriff. And Galton uses county animal control. As just a couple examples. I'm sure other cities do the same thing, and I'm sure EMD does inspections in Rancho.
I'm having a hard time coming up with any programs in our department that doesn't include the entire county and all cities.
Yeah.
So 99% of our programs are countywide and the cities do not opt out of them. Food protection, our hazmat program, waste tire, childhood lead, all of it is countywide. So all of the cities are impacted by it.
so I think the question that you bring that raises in my mind is if we see a county problem and we have to reach out to Citrus Heights or Rancho Cordova to address it, are we allowed to do that? Right? Is that the question?
No, I think it's just the opposite. I think if there's a county issue that also happens to concern Rancho and Citrus Heights, they're just on the menu. They're not at the table. They're not here at the table.
Right, but do we
They're on the
have
menu.
the right to
Yes, we do.
reach out to them because it affects the county?
No, we just tell them what we did.
That's what I mean.
I think
They
you're
have
saying the same thing.
they have a choice to be here at the table.
Mhm.
They choose not to be.
Yeah, but we can still contact them with our
We can tell them-
recommendations.
Yeah, we can tell them, yeah, absolutely. We can tell them what we did to them.
Is that what you mean, Gage?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, they're within the county, so we
Yeah.
would still be able to, we
Yeah.
should still communicate to them if we
Right.
have to.
But do we have the authority to advise them, or do we advise the county and the county?
That's
Well,
the
we advise
question.
the- we advise the county, we advise the
It's
county,
an incorporated
and the
city
county's gonna
within
do
the
what the county's
county,
gonna
then,
do.
yeah.
It's just that any discussion on what happens and policies or anything like that, they are part of at this level, at this commission. Because they choose not to.
Because we're the Sacramento County Environmental Commission,
Correct.
do we have the jurisdiction to send those cities recommendations?
It says provide information and analysis and to advise city councils of Sacramento County.
Yeah.
For this limited purpose. So reading this, if it's within that purpose, then this would give us not only the power, but the duty to do so.
I think
Let's use a simple example. Food inspection. It's handled by EMD, Sacramento County, and it includes Rancho and Citrus Heights. If there's some kind of a policy or some change in that we discuss at this level and get involved with the county to make some sort of recommendation or decision on that, Rancho and Citrus Heights are just spectators. They're just spectators. They're on the menu. They're not at the table, part of the discussion.
Well, let's talk about another example is the city, Rancho City approves a subdivision. along the river. Do we have the authority to advise them not to do that?
I think we would,
Yeah.
if there was an issue with
If it's-
comprehensive environmental protection in the county.
I
The
think we
county,
also have to
the county would
recognize
get
that
involved.
the county,
If the county got involved, yes,
the county has policy people dealing with those things also,
right.
and that is their job. If there's an issue with Ranchos, and I hope they didn't approve that, if there is an issue like that, to me, the first order of discussion is with the county policy people.
Correct.
And we're not policy people, we're advisory on a fairly narrow
Yeah.
range of environmental issues. Again, I don't want to see
Yeah.
anybody walking on her feet because of something we've done.
Yeah, if we got involved
We
in
gotta be
some kind
very,
of,
very careful about what we're doing.
right, if we got involved in some kind of a policy recommendation with the county and the county environmental people on that project, whatever, that would concern us, the county, and it would be interesting, I mean, they could show up and give public comment if they wanted to, but they wouldn't be part of this commission making the
Oh, I understand that.
recommendation.
But I think it goes beyond that, it goes beyond to perception.
Yes,
And once you get into there, you got all kinds of available avenues.
yes,
I'd be very, very careful.
yeah,
Yeah, so ultimately, anything that we decide as a group to do, we'll do these discussions and we will decide whether or not it's within our limitation. We will get advice and move forward that way. Because we don't want to be seen as, adversarial. We want people to work with us. So, but I do think it's not off the table. Like you said, Gage, I think it's on the table. It's just a matter of, we would discuss whatever the issue is as a body and make that decision going forward, whether it's within our jurisdiction.
yeah, and again, both cities, Rancho or Citrus Heights, if there's an issue that we're discussing at this commission, they can certainly show up. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's absolutely, I mean, but again, it's their choice. And the final decision, the final recommendation, when coming from this commission, would take their input into consideration, but they wouldn't have a voice.
Mhm.
And it's their choice, of course.
And of course, they can choose to take it or not take it because it's just an advisory panel, which is.
So
an
they can
advisory
also
panel.
call the county CAO
Yes,
directly.
yeah. Gets a little tricky.
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, yeah, it's
Case by
stuff-
case, I think for sure.
This what?
Oh, yeah.
Case by case.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. We'll
Yeah.
just look at each case and if it's, if our feelers are up, we need to do a little more research, I think, so. Anything else? Thank you, Richard, for doing that, by the way. Is there
I
anything
guess
else?
I have a follow-up question on this, and when I read paragraph C, is that contain the universe that we intend to have with these county and city departments? Perhaps it's a question for another day, but I just want to make sure that the envelope of issues is reflected in those words in paragraph C. Yeah.
And I think the two words that are important in paragraph C.
Air quality,
is
environmental
request.
health,
Yes.
and hazardous materials control. If that's complete, then I'm satisfied. It's just a question for a new member here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you hit it right, Mark. It's on the request.
On request, yeah, in other words, we don't go looking for it.
No.
all right. Is there any other discussions, any other issues, any of the commissioners would like to bring up before we close the meeting? Very good. The next meeting is I lost my thing, is on May 20th. It'll be again here. Is it gonna be televised again? Is this gonna be going forward now?
No.
No,
So
this
what's
is
it?
just our quarterly.
So it's quarterly is always, okay.
And the next televised will be July, right?
All right.
Is there any extra cost to televise our meetings?
Yes,
Oh, how much?
I can't answer that. But they
You know
have
everything.
staff. They have staff that does the closed caption. They have staff that's at Metro
Oh,
right now
forget it.
televising.
Yeah, that's several $100.
Oh, I see. Well, it has to be done. That's probably part of the ordinance stuff.
We have a contract with them for quarterly.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay, well, that being said, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. And see you all next month.